Hi, everyone. It's Carissa. Welcome back to another episode of Sustainability in the Sea. I'm so happy you're here. I just want to give a shout out to everyone who listens every week. We see you in the analytics, and I'm just so happy that a show like this is bringing ocean solutions to the world in a fun, everyday way. Something that you could really do to support us is to share this with a friend or leave us a review. We're trying to get this into the screens of more people who care about the ocean or want to learn more about ocean conservation. So if you do us a favor like that, I would be eternally grateful. Today, we are talking with Alena Riggs. She's the communication manager for Sustainable Surf, which also runs Seatrees. They are a nonprofit organization based out of California that works on a bunch of different initiatives embodying the type of regenerative ocean solutions that we need. So we actually talk a little bit about every single one of the initiatives, which I thought was really helpful because you kind of get like a crash course in all of them today. It's like the ecoboard. So this is for people who are interested in surf innovation and material design in the surfing community, how they're trying to activate surf communities around this type of sustainable material innovation and design. We talk about Seatrees, which is their most well-known initiative. They're reforesting the ocean through blue carbon ecosystems, and you can actually sign up for their newsletter today. I have it in the show notes, and they will plant a mangrove tree for you for free just for signing up. They're growing tremendously in that facet, but they also have like a ocean positive certification that a lot of companies that you probably know about actually use. And they announced an exclusive announcement on this episode, and I'm just stoked to have them on there. Alena was awesome. And they're an organization that you can just follow and just passively learn about all of these solutions. So definitely do that if you like what you hear in this episode. We also have an ad today, so bear with us. This is all an exciting time for sustainability in the sea. It's going to be right at the beginning, and then we're going to get right into the show. So thanks for being here. Welcome back to Sustainability and the Sea.
Host and design educator Eric Benson interviews acclaimed climate scientists and sustainability experts to find out how designers can help combat the climate crisis in their college classrooms. The discussions on this program are geared to help you climify your syllabi to assign projects that not only teach design fundamentals, but also can have a positive impact on our climate. You can find Climify on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you want to join the conversation and become a climate designer, you can follow the show on Instagram at Climify Podcast, or head over to our great teaching resources at climatedesigners.org/edu.
Hi, Alena. Welcome to Sustainability in the Sea. Where
Hello.
are you tuning in from?
I am tuning in from North San Diego. I live in Encinitas.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show today. I think that I've been learning about Seatrees for years at this point, and learning about all your different projects as part of this interview was actually really exciting. And I have so many great questions that I'm sure our community at FutureSwell is going to want to hear. But first, I want to get to know you, because you obviously had a path that brought you to dedicate your career to restoring and protecting our oceans. So what originally connected you to ocean conservation and this type of work?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to grow up right next to the beach my whole life. I grew up in Laguna in Orange County. So my parents kind of brought me there as soon as they could. You know, as a baby, I learned to walk on the sand. I learned to swim in the ocean. So I've always had this very, very deep, profound connection to the ocean and the sea, and kind of, you know, everyone that calls it home and calls home near it. So when I went to college, I started studying environmental science, and kind of, you know, I knew my passion was in, it sounds so funny, you know, saving the planet, saving the oceans. I went for environmental science, realized this was the area that I wanted, but not as specific as I was looking for. So after that, I went and moved to Australia to get my master's degree in marine science and management. And there I was really kind of able to fine tune what I wanted to work on, how I wanted to do it, how I wanted to get the message out to people. So yeah, I just really wanted to teach people about how to protect, you know, the health of our oceans. And while I was doing my degree, I was doing a lot of research. I was on boats, I was in labs, and, you know, absolutely love doing all of that. But I was like, okay, all the work that we're doing, no one's hearing about it. No one's finding out about what we're doing. It's just going into a paper, going into a book. And the only people that are reading it are the people that are already aware and looking for it. So once I moved back, it was during the pandemic. So I was like, okay, what can I find to help the ocean where I don't leave my house? So I found Sustainable Surf, and the job for the communications manager was open. And I thought that would be the perfect fit to kind of bridge that gap between the public that doesn't know a lot about what's going on our planet, what's going on underneath the surface, and be able to teach them about it and, what they can do, the small steps they can take. And I found this role, and it's been a perfect fit, and it's been the perfect way to kind of teach people what's going on, but also encourage them to, want to do good.
Yeah, it's such a crucial piece of the conservation puzzle. Like, if we're not sharing it in a fun way, in an educational way, in an entertaining way, people aren't going to feel motivated to take time out of their really busy lives to do something for it. So that's incredible. I want to go back to Australia because I feel like I've always wanted to do that. I really wanted to go to graduate school in Australia as well. What was it life changing to see how their stewardship compared to the United States, and like what in that program was kind of a motivator for you? I know you said you were doing research in the lab, but like that connected you to conservation.
Yeah, I think what I really came to love over there was this new way of looking at how important the land is. A lot of Australian culture is really based around the indigenous peoples and the indigenous land that people are living on. And part of that, does extend into the ocean. It's not just the land, it goes all the way out into the sea. And so they really hold the ocean really highly, and they, want to work to protect it. There's a lot of the coast that you can't even build within a couple of kilometers of the ocean because they don't want anything going in there, anything polluting it. So they take a lot of measures and a lot of practices to ensure that the ocean stays as protected as it can, and they do have the Great Barrier Reef, and a lot of those kind of principles around that, kind of trickle down to the rest of the country. And yeah, it was really beautiful. A lot of people, they just have such a strong connection to the ocean over there. And, it's easy because there's a lot less people than there are in the States, so it's a lot easier for people to live near the coast and see the beauty that is the ocean, and see that, everything that's out there to protect. Whereas in the States, unfortunately, we have so many people never see the ocean even. So how are they going to care about it if they've never even seen it? And I think, living in a place that didn't have a lot of people, that has really, really deep roots to the indigenous land and water, really opened up my eyes to how do we communicate this message to people that might not have this, inherent connection to the ocean already. People that, are looking for ways to help, maybe had never been to the ocean, but still get them excited about it. And yeah, it really helped with that. But yeah.
I feel like also being around an ocean minded or sustainability minded community for the first time is just such an aha moment, because you see, I didn't grow up in a community like that, but coming here, I saw it firsthand, and I felt like, oh, there's so much belonging here, and there's a collective mindset to care for this place. And when you're in a community like that, it's almost like easy. It's simple to take actions for the ocean.
Yeah, it's, to be around people where you're just like, oh, you care about this too? That's amazing. Or just in a place that it's a really, sustainable, kind of just a sustainable life over there. A lot of people encourage, less plastic use, using glassware more, reusing things. And so rather than it being something that you kind of have to look for, which at times I feel like that's how it is over here, it's something that's so readily available. You go to the store, they don't offer bags, but there's boxes, cardboard boxes left over from the produce and stuff that people just already know that that's how they take their groceries home. So random things like that are just built into the community. And it's amazing to see it on such a small scale, and kind of, come back over here and be like, okay, how do I make this bigger? How do I get people to do this? And it really was a beautiful thing to experience and be able to kind of take it onto my next chapter.
That's beautiful. With your experience with marine management and specializing in that, do you feel like that's really helped you in your job now and like applications? Because obviously there's a global initiative to protect 30% of the world's ocean. Do you think that specializing in that for your master's has helped give context to kind of the direction that the field is going during our lifetimes?
Yeah, definitely. It helped a lot also with just being able to take a lot of this information that might seem to be so big, so daunting to people, and make it more digestible and kind of make it easier for people to understand. A lot of people, they think, oh my God, the ocean, like, all these problems, what am I going to do to help? And, they read things and they're like, I don't understand, blue carbon ecosystems. A lot of people don't know what these terms mean, and they kind of just scroll right past it,
Yeah.
say if they see a post. And having that degree and having that background of marine science and marine biology really helped me, kind of take a look at it and be like, okay, I learned all this stuff, how do I make it interesting to the everyday person? How do I make people want to care about it and, speak about it in a way that people can really take in and really resonate with, rather than just, seeming overwhelming and just scrolling right past it and never thinking about it again.
Yeah, I think also we've gone past this era of like the ocean's important. There's plastic in the ocean, to now like, okay, how do we heal the ocean? And making that stuff fun and eye catching and attention grabbing is difficult, but it's also like the work of our lifetime right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about blue carbon ecosystems and sustainable surf. So sustainable surf started a handful of years ago, initially with the ecoboard project, right? Could you share us a little bit about the early beginnings of the organization and business?
Yeah, so back in 2011, our bosses, Kevin Wilden and Michael Stewart, they have a long history in the sustainability world, the environmental world. Kevin is a geologist, so he has a really, really deep rooted science background and kind of understanding what happens on this planet and why it happens. And they're both also very avid surfers. So the both of them came together and they were like, well, how do we take this love of surfing of ours and make it help, how does it help get people interested? So the whole original goal of Sustainable Surf was to use the surfing community, to use the surf industry, to use the love of surfing and use that pathway to encourage other people to care about the ocean. Because, if there's no ocean, there's no surfing. If there's an unhealthy ocean that's polluted, that's dying, there's no waves that we want to surf. It's literally the playground for the sport that we love. And that was their mindset in starting it. And so they branched off and kind of started our two programs. So we have the ecoboard project and we have Seatrees, which are a bit, they're interconnected, but they also do very, very different things at the same time. The ecoboard project helps the board riding community build, buy, and ride sustainable surfboards. But we also do kiteboards, stand-up paddle boards. So that's why we say board riding community, because it's not specific to surfing, because not everyone surfs, But it's really amazing what the ecoboard project does. It works with local shapers around the world. We have, anywhere from Asia, Australia, South America, Caribbean, California, Hawaii, all these different shapers that are making really big moves in the board riding community and making these boards that don't have such a crazy environmental impact or just impact on our planet. And if you buy an ecoboard, it reduces the waste of the surfboard by half. So ecoboards produce, half as much waste as a normal board just off the shelf. It also cuts the carbon footprint of the board by a third. So in general, these boards are amazing. They have a longer lifespan because a lot of them are made from like agave wood, really, really durable. The thing surfboards were made of hundreds of years ago.
Traditionally.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's really rooted in those kind of deep roots of Hawaiian surfing. It's like we used to use trees to surf on. It worked well for forever. Why are we making all this waste just to make these like, pretty looking boards?
Yeah.
So yes.
Wait, is there foam in it?
So sometimes, if you go to our ecoboard project website, you can see that there's shapers that are making things of all different kinds. There's one of our partners, Polyola Surf, and they repurpose foam from like mattresses, airplane seats, car seats, things like that, where they're just taking foam that's been used, that's just, sitting in a landfill. And they're like, okay, how do we repurpose this into a surfboard? And they're making amazing boards with it. A lot of our ambassadors actually will like solely surf ecoboards, which is amazing.
That's incredible. The surf community has so much power over like the social narrative around the ocean. And could you imagine like young people looking up to their favorite pro surfer and their favorite pro surfers only surfing eco boards, and they're just like, I want to do that too. That's exactly what it's about.
Yeah. And the thing is too with the ecoboard project is we're trying to get the word out about it, so I always tell people, if you see an ecoboard logo on a board, buy it, or at least tell someone about it, because there's been pro surfers that have won titles on ecoboards. Kelly Slater won an event on an ecoboard. Lakey won.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I think Sage Erickson won one on an ecoboard. So I think Michelle Perez won one on an ecoboard. So there's a lot of different surfers that have actually surfed them, but it's just not spoken about. So I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
well, if you're surfing it, if you find an ecoboard and you surf it and you love it, tell someone about it, because maybe that person will get one. Maybe they'll tell someone else about it. It's all about speaking up because, you know, a lot of times people don't know what to do or where to begin to make a difference. They go, I want to make a difference. I just don't know where to start. And I
Mhm.
tell them, yeah, well, if you're shopping for a new board, buy an eco board. That's a
Yeah.
huge difference you're already making. The board that you're holding has half as much waste that's going into our planet and into our oceans than if you were to buy another one, and it'll surf just as good, if not better.
Well, that's the thing is I feel like people would say, or maybe there's a narrative that's like, oh, well, is there a cost to performance? But you're like, no, these pro surfers are winning titles on the eco board. There's absolutely no cost.
Mhm.
How can people listening support? Look for the logo in their surf shop.
Yeah, so if you're getting an eco board, you can either go to the website, and then if
Mhm.
you find get an eco board, you can filter it by type of board you want, location in the world. So, say you're in Australia and you want to find one, you can filter it just for local shapers, and it'll show you all the shapers, all the brands that will sell them. And usually from there, you can figure out, where to get them. And locally here, it's really easy because, I live in San Diego and Firewire is San Diego, and they're almost all eco boards that they make. So,
Oh,
living in
awesome.
places like this, you actually don't even realize how many are around you
Mhm.
until you start looking and you're like, oh, there's a logo, there's a logo, there's a logo. So, look for the little lamb that's glassed in the board.
I feel, yeah, I think like anyone can now support it or even just tell someone about it. Like I know some people in their early, when they're surfing, like are getting a used board, but it's like if you want to upgrade, like consider upgrading with the sustainability in mind because it's now it seems like it's pretty accessible too. It's like you can find it in surf shops in your area, depending on where you surf.
Exactly. Like 10 years ago, taking a big step, to kind of minimize your environmental impact or kind of just, keep an eco-conscious mindset was a lot
Mhm.
more difficult than it is now. Now you can literally just, go to the website, look it up, and boom, you're there 30 minutes later with a brand new eco board. It's
Yeah.
so much easier. You just kind of got to take that first step and, be curious and look for it because you'll get what you're looking for. It's not like, oh, I can't find anything, it's just they're there.
Oh, I'm stoked that it's alive and well and accessible
Mhm.
too. So then you guys also a few years ago founded the Pillar of Seatrees, right? How did that start? Were you with the team then?
No, so I started with the team last year, so in
Okay.
2022. Yeah, C3 started in 2019, so it was still fairly new, but we've grown so fast that it doesn't even feel like it's. When I say it started 2019, I'm like, oh my gosh, it really is that young. But it's grown so much because I love the mission of the company and I stand by it so much. I think it's such an incredible thing to do to educate people while also, encouraging brands to get involved and encouraging individuals to get involved. It kind of covers from the smallest to the biggest, in any
Mhm.
sense. It's the smallest, you know, one person versus a huge corporation, working with seed trees, one tiny tree to a huge forest. We really, use this holistic process to kind of, heal our oceans.
What is the mission of Seatrees?
Yeah, so I guess the fundamental mission of Seatrees is to plant, protect, and restore blue carbon ecosystems around the world. For a lot of people might not know, blue carbon is the carbon that's stored in coastal and marine ecosystems under the ground in the plant biomass or in the soil.
Mhm.
So by restoring these ecosystems, and blue carbon ecosystems are mangrove forest, wetlands, seagrass, kelp forest, coastal watersheds, and coral reefs. So there's a lot to pick from. You got to
Yeah.
really. And so by restoring these, we're actually pulling carbon out of the atmosphere and burying it in the ground for, forever, essentially.
Mhm.
So the more of these ecosystems that we can build, the more carbon we're putting in the ground, the more carbon that's not in the atmosphere, essentially reversing climate change.
Yeah, it's such an important piece to not miss when it comes to blue carbon because we have to draw down carbon from the atmosphere. We can't just also try to stop emitting it. There has to be both. And I think that nature-based solutions, I'm a huge proponent of nature-based solutions. I don't think we should be putting all these energy towards climate tech in the same way when we have these beautiful processes that have existed for millions of years. And I love that you guys prioritize seagrass too. It sounds like all of the projects, because you work with partners around the world, right?
Yeah, so I guess I should explain that the way that Seatrees works is we work with local nonprofits in each of the project areas, and those are run by local indigenous communities. So everyone who knows the land, who grew up on the land, they know how the land works. It's not, foreigners coming in and starting to plant something. It's people that are so deeply rooted in the history of that land that know a lot of traditional planting techniques that a lot of, the Western world doesn't understand or hasn't learned yet. A good example is our Bali coral restoration project on Nusa Penida actually uses a traditional ancient seaweed growing technique, and we implement it on coral reefs, and it's been working amazing. Like, we're regrowing entire reefs. So you take the tiny coral fragment, tie it to this biodegradable rope, and you stake it into the ground and allow it to grow down and back into the seafloor, essentially just growing its own coral reef by itself. And this is a technique that was used to grow seagrass for, like, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of years. And then the indigenous people were like, oh, well, this is going to work for coral. So we support those types of projects. We fund them. We help train people and, make sure that there's capacity building involved so that you can scale it up, so that they know how to educate the new generation, the younger people that are coming to work the project, that it keeps going and going and going and just doesn't end with that, we just go there and, work one time. We go and we help people learn how to keep planting for forever.
Yeah, sustain them into the future. So they use the same planting for corals that they did for seagrass?
For seaweed, for the local type of seaweed. That's just one of the specific
That's
examples.
amazing.
But the amazing thing is all our projects are so different and they're so innovative. Like, we have a new project. We have a couple new European projects. One of them is a kelp restoration project in Portugal with our project partner Sea Forester. And what they're doing is they took a totally different approach. There's ones that use very, very traditional methods that they know work for the land. Lots of the mangrove planting is very rudimentary. It's, you literally plant the seedling, allow it to grow, and do what it's done for millions of years, But for example, the Portugal kelp project, they're building a mobile kelp nursery that you can essentially ship anywhere and restart a kelp forest wherever it goes. They're growing these tiny little baby kelp, pieces on this green gravel. It's this new technology they invented that you put in the ocean and it regrows a kelp forest. So each of our projects is so unique and has such a different way to kind of approach this problem. And that's the best thing, is there isn't a one size fits all for planting, for solving climate change, things like that. It's what works in that area, what people have known, whether it's what people have known for thousands of years, whether it's new ideas that are working. It's all about just, doing what you can and what works in that space. And yeah, that's what we try to do. We try to support those projects and scale it up and just do what we can.
It's community based too. It's like, it's not just place based, it's community based. And it's also, you come in and you're like, hey, let us help you resource this. Let us help you provide infrastructure and let us help you tell your story. And then they can focus on doing what they do best, which is planting all of the blue carbon.
Yeah, those are two big pieces of kind of our Seatrees mission too. One is the community benefits. We really strive to keep all of our projects, within the 17 United Nations SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. So most of our projects, not most, all of our projects benefit the community in one way or another, whether it's, helping against poverty. We're providing jobs. Some of our projects are providing hundreds and hundreds of jobs to the local community, reversing hunger. It's with a lot of the wages that they are able to earn working at the project, they can buy their family food, school supplies, have better health care. So each of our projects aren't just going in and planting, they're actually helping the community grow and stay sustainable for years and years and years because of the project being there. And then I guess the second thing that you mentioned too is the storytelling. Storytelling is such a huge part of our organization, whether it's telling a story of the people that are working the project or telling a story of the impact that the project has. We've had a couple of really, really amazing partners help sponsor some videos that we've made. So if you go to, our website or our YouTube page or even our social media, you'll see a lot of the projects that we've made movies of and films of. And it's really amazing to kind of tell the story in such a beautiful and engaging way and get people interested, because sometimes watching those videos really, really help inspire change.
Yeah, and that's like, could be people's entry point into even learning about what you guys do by seeing a beautiful short film around it.
Mhm.
So how can people listening support? I'll link all that stuff too in the show notes, but how can people listening support? We know you guys have a lot of businesses, small businesses, large corporations that are now learning about how you can offset and they can support, but can individuals also help support the projects?
Oh yeah. So I mean, what we something we like to say at Sustainable Surf is it's not just about doing less bad, it's about doing more good. So, it's yes, making changes in your lifestyle, doing less of, things that are polluting the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
polluting the air, but it's about doing more good. It's when you can, even as an individual, go and plant a seed tree. That's a huge thing that we try to advocate for, is like you can plant a tree for as cheap as $1. You can plant your first mangrove tree. Actually, if you sign up for our newsletter, we plant a tree for your first tree for free. So there you go.
Ooh, guys got to do it.
You get one tree. But yeah, so I for individuals, I guess it starts at planting a tree. You can choose between planting a coral fragment, restoring kelp forest, restoring seagrass, restoring coastal watershed, which is an amazing one. That one actually is on the island of Maui. We have a project there, and so it's about putting the native plants back in the earth and kind of bringing back the health of the earth that's right on the coast, and kind of ends up protecting the coral reefs too. So it's this whole chain.
Mm-hmm.
And planting a mangrove tree, that's the kind of one we started with, and that one's really important as well. But I mean, they're all important. And I would say for individuals, it's planting a seed tree, but also just getting the information, staying informed.
Mm-hmm.
For us, sign up for our newsletter, follow us on socials. You'll learn so much, even just from following us on Instagram, whether it's about where we are in the world, a new project that's happening, a benefit that our project is having, and just, fun stuff like that too. Fun random facts that you might learn about the ocean.
I also love that you guys are prioritizing upstream solutions because traditional indigenous wisdom shows that ridge to reef restoration, like whatever happens upstream, ultimately protects the reefs or whatever's downstream. And so there's a huge revitalization of that happening here in Hawaii. And I feel like other islands, planting native plants in other islands are also helping the ocean ecosystem. So someone might be like, what, wait, that doesn't have to do with the ocean, but really it's all connected.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, what happens upstream, it affects what happens in the ocean by taking, the problem on one of the project sites on Maui is it was essentially a dumping ground for trash for years and years and
Mm,
years. So all the water that would come through would go through that trash and end up in the ocean, and would suffocate the coral reefs. When a lot of water comes in the ocean that's, has too many nutrients, is bad, has a lot of sediment in it, it literally suffocates the coral reefs and doesn't allow it to grow anymore. So by planting those, removing the invasive species and planting the native species, you're cleaning it up. You're putting in plants that filter water as they move downstream. So it's this amazing, really, really holistic way to look at both ocean and land restoration, because it's all connected.
yeah, absolutely. And so, as Seatrees has grown rapidly, I love seeing you guys like work all around the world, helping so many different communities. You've brought brands in to help, be ocean positive. Is that how the Ocean Positive program and certification ended up kind of standing itself up?
In a way, yeah. So we have, not all brands are part of the Ocean Positive solution.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of in the process of revamping that program. But in general, with Seatrees, brands can partner with us to either plant trees or restore ecosystems, or they can wipe out their climate impact, environmental impact, carbon footprint, lots of different
Mm-hmm.
words for the same thing, with some of our projects. So there's a couple options. If you're a brand and you partner with us, we can plant trees on your behalf. And in that way, you can tell your community about that. You can tell that story to your audience, or you can wipe out your impact. So with the Ocean Positive solution, brands will, through our projects, they will purchase carbon credits, and that will wipe out their footprint from production, shipping, manufacturing, office space, flights, anything. So you tally up your impact, and then you can essentially wipe it out with Seatrees, which is really nice. And on the individual level, you can do that too, which is the beauty of it. If you are an individual and you're like, oh, I fly a bunch this year, or over the holidays, I flew a bunch, or I drove a
Mm-hmm.
bunch, you can go to our website and you can wipe out your flight impact for a year, your driving impact for a year, all these. We really give a lot of different opportunities for just a single person or a company that has like thousands of people.
We just had Alex Schulze of For Ocean on, and he was saying
Yeah.
that they're trying to transition to also like a plastic positive model so people can wipe out their plastic footprint. So imagine if you guys are offering the carbon footprint, they're offering the plastic footprint, and then companies have resources while they transition to decarbonize to also kind of scale down their impact on the planet. I feel like this is such a niche, a needed niche that's growing. Is this like your most in demand work?
It is sometimes, and I think it's one of those things where a lot of people don't know about it. So we've really been trying to educate our community about that program because, you know, it and it's just doing the ocean positive solution isn't the only thing. Like you said, it's a combination of all these different factors. If a massive company can purchase some carbon credits, wipe out part of their footprint with us, do
Mhm.
something with another organization, and kind of supplement all these different things, they end up putting more carbon back into the ground than they're emitting. And that's kind of the whole ethos behind the ocean positive solution is, sequester more carbon than you're emitting and then more, and then do more than that. So we have some really big brands that are ocean positive partners, and it's really beautiful to see them excited about promoting that. It's
Mhm.
they want to tell that story too. And then it's this trickle down effect, and it's someone gets the package of, say, like Osea skincare is ocean positive. You buy
Mhm.
the box, you'll see the ocean positive logo printed on your box that you get when you ship. So they've done an amazing job at telling that story and really being like, okay, well, we advocate for making the skincare that is from the ocean and helps the ocean. And so what they do, they wiped out their impact. They made it so that no action they're taking is negatively affecting the ocean and the planet.
And that trust in the certification is really like what we need the consumers to have, which takes a lot of time, but we saw it work tremendously with 1% for the planet. And if we can have that with all these other certifications too, then it's easy for people when they're at the store to just make the decision that's aligned with their values.
Yeah, exactly. And then I guess if on a brand scale too, if they, you know, maybe don't have the means at the moment to work directly with Seatrees, we actually just became a climate neutral partner. So now when
Mm.
if you're a climate neutral business and you go to look at the different providers, Seatrees is one of those. So you can choose us to use for the carbon credits. So 1% for the planet companies can now use Seatrees to kind of fulfill their commitment, which is
Oh,
really, really, this is like just a couple weeks ago. So very fresh, very exciting. But
congratulations.
yeah, so really I hope it opens up a lot of companies to learning about us. And, like I said, they might not be able to come to us directly, but that's a way that
Mhm.
they can work with us and support us by purchasing those credits through climate neutral and making a huge change. So
Awesome. And then what are like looking ahead? I mean, you guys, I can't believe it was 2019 when
I
Seatrees
know.
was, but looking ahead, like what are some big goals you all have that you are really excited about that are on your company vision board that you want to make a reality in the years to come as like this movement just grows and grows and grows?
Yeah, I mean, I think our main goal is that we talk about is having 100 blue carbon projects by 2030. That's our,
Mm.
kind of in line with the whole 30 for 30 mentality. It's we want to have 100 projects around the world restoring all different types of blue carbon ecosystems, in the next 7 years. So I think it's definitely going to happen. I love it. I'm full supporter, and that's so just growing project wise, growing our team, growing our
Mhm.
following, our audience. And I guess we've been on this trajectory of pretty much hitting 1,000 trees planted a year. It looks like it might even speed up faster than that. This year on World Oceans Day, we hit 3 million sea trees planted. And I think we're already almost to 4, I'm pretty sure. So
Wow. No, it's going to be accelerate. It's going to accelerate.
yeah, I really want to see the graph just go whoosh all the way up.
Oh, that's awesome. And also, it
Mhm.
just sounds like everyone can support that becoming a reality.
Oh, yeah.
So, with the ocean conservation movement growing, obviously, we have marine science backgrounds and we found our way into communications, but there's a lot of people listening to this who might not be pursuing a marine biology focused degree
Mhm.
or just kind of care. And how can they help be part of this collective movement if they're not necessarily an expert or they're not in a position to, dedicate their whole career to this?
Yeah. I mean, from the smallest, easiest thing, we all have our phones. We're all on our phones all the time. Follow sea trees, follow organizations that do similar things. It's like by following these accounts, you're getting that information sometimes without
Mhm.
even realizing that you're getting it. We are scroll generation, scrolling, taking in information. Why not start following accounts where the information you're taking in is going to make a change or going to maybe change the way that you think about the life that you've been living in your,
Mhm.
so far? I mean, like, I just really love seeing someone read something, or I'll get a response to a newsletter and someone will be like, I never thought about it that way. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So yeah, I mean, from the easiest thing is just following us, signing up for newsletters, planting a seed tree if you have the funds available to do so, whether it's one tree for $1, you know, if you have $100, you can pretty much start a coral reef by yourself. So, we give you the option. It's really nice. And a lot of our brand partners, have either they have collections that benefit us, or a lot of brand partners will like, okay, if you buy this percent goes to Seatrees. So take a look at our brand partner page on our website. And, I say shop smart, shop blue. If you're looking for something, why not look for it in a brand, in a product that helps the ocean in a way, rather than just like picking a random company. So, and look around for organizations that you can get involved in. It doesn't have to be Seatrees, as long as you're doing something, that's what's important. A lot of times, a lot of people think making a change is too much, they're not going to make a difference, but it's all about doing a bunch of little things that eventually will accumulate into making lasting and real change in your life, or in, the life of people around you and the ocean. It's just about taking that first step and making an action. It doesn't need to be necessarily with Seatrees, as long as you're doing something. That's what I say.
It's also, it takes time to build a habit, and eventually you find yourself and you're just thinking of the ocean, all your decisions, and it becomes like clockwork. And how cool is it that with the holidays approaching that you can plant a coral reef for somebody you love instead of getting them something that they might not use or something like that.
Exactly. We have gift cards on our website. You can buy someone a gift card for half a coral reef, for a mangrove forest if you want to. We also do a holiday gift guide where we talk about brands that all the brands give back, and it's a wonderful guideline to follow when you do your holiday shopping, and also you're doing a lot of shopping, there's a lot of shipping, wipe out your footprint. We kind of have every avenue that you can follow out there, just to ensure that, the end goal is helping the ocean.
Awesome. And then we finish every single episode with the same question that we ask our guests, which is just that if you had to put a message on a billboard for all the most powerful people in the world, what would it say?
I think that phrase that we say a lot, just within our own company, is that it's not just about doing less bad, it's about doing more good. A lot of people can minimize things that they're doing, drive less, do all these things, and that just goes so far. But if you're doing more good, if you're putting more into the planet, if you're putting more trees in the sea, it's going to exponentially help, in the long run. So I think that's what I would put. Less bad, more good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alena, for coming on Sustainability in the Sea.
Yeah, thank you so much.